Okay, we are live.
All right, we're all set. Okay, this is the April 22, 2020 public hearing of the Board of Estimate and Taxation regarding the fiscal year 2021 operating budget. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Okay, Mayor Rilling?
Here.
Can you? Okay. Mr. Abrams?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Chairman Camacho?
Here.
Mr. Frere?
Here.
Mr. Jelleret?
Here.
Mr. Kasimis? 6 votes. You have a quorum.
Okay. As I indicated, this is the April 22nd, 2020 public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2021 operating budget. The purpose of this hearing is to allow for public comment. But before we do, would anyone like to speak? Mr. Mayor, would you like to make some comments in connection with the operating budget, with the proposed operating budget?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to ask for some a little bit of an explanation on where we arrived or how we arrived at this from Mr. Dakowitz. You know, again, as I mentioned earlier about the capital budget, these are very challenging times. We don't know what the situation will be going forward. We don't know what our expenditures will be. We're not sure of a lot of things regarding the revenue collection or revenue expectations that we have from property taxes, from state revenue, from other kinds of revenue fees that we normally expect. So we're in kind of uncharted waters and not knowing what the future holds. But we have put together a budget that I believe accomplishes several things. One, and first and foremost, we wanted to keep our tax levy as low as we possibly could. Again, challenging times. We have certain contractual obligations that we have to meet, other kinds of things that we have to meet. We wanted to keep city services at a level that people expect and they deserve. So that was one of the primary things, keeping taxes low, but still keeping our city services to a level where people that people have come to expect. The other thing is we wanted to have a buffer, if you will, a buffer that would allow us to have funds in place to cover some of the things that we may not know we're going to have to cover. Some of the coronavirus related things, we don't know what the outcomes are going to be, but we wanted to put a buffer in place, and I'll let Mr. Dakowitz explain that to a little bit greater degree. And we wanted to make sure that we could cover the things we needed to cover, but still keep taxes as low as we possibly could. So we have gone back and forth with many iterations. We have pretty much taken out any requests for extra positions that would not fund themselves or cover the cost of the funded position, which you'll probably see in your package. We have a couple of extra positions, but those positions are expected to cover the cost of adding those positions. We had, I believe, about 10 requests for 10 extra positions within the budget. Prior to this outbreak, we had taken most of those out because we didn't want to increase taxes. But since that outbreak, it became even more critically important that we remove some of these positions and look at how we can maybe fund them later on. One of the things that's really important that I mentioned to my cabinet the other day, and this will help us in the long run. We're at a time when we have an opportunity to analyze the effectiveness of our city government. This situation has put us in a position of having to do things that we never anticipated. So I've asked my cabinet to start looking at things that they were able to do effectively under the the conditions in which we find ourselves, and some of the things that they felt that they might have had an opportunity to do or that they needed to do but didn't have the resources to do it. We also are going to be looking at an after action report, analyzing again everything that happened, where we were effective, where we could have been more effective, and how we can improve ourselves moving forward. But the budget that we have in place has gone through several iterations, several different levels of taxation. And we wanted to make sure that we, again, the number one priority was to be able to do the things we need to do, have a buffer to make sure that we could have money in reserve in the event that we have other expenditures, and also to keep taxes as low as possible. So I do want to thank Angela and Henry, my team, for working very hard. Mr. Burnett, I know he's on, and he was very much a part of it. Mr. Camacho, you were very much of a part of it. We had several meetings on Saturday mornings, and just making sure that we put together a budget that was fair, but enabling us to do what we needed to do. So, Mr. Dakowitz, I would offer you the opportunity to add whatever you feel is appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We covered some of this 2 days ago in the Board of Estimate meeting. The mayor laid out his objectives. So as you people know, before February 25th, the Common Council established the cap on the operating budget. And then for about 3 weeks before we had to go to remote distance operations, the departments came into the BET and made presentations, which is traditionally done, but many of them had no problems. They said the budget that was negotiated was acceptable for them to perform what they needed. There were some small minor requests. Some asked to just change from one line item to another. Some had other items, as the mayor indicated. We wanted an individual who would be giving out, as an inspector, giving out summonses, and the revenue would cover the cost of the individual, making sure that everybody follows the rules. So we were able to accommodate all of those changes. The grand list came in at significantly higher than what we had originally budgeted, which would have indicated a $10 million increase in revenue. Out of that 10 million, we were able to use $5 million as a buffer in next year's budget for diminishment of revenues or unanticipated expenses for COVID. We just don't know what they'll be specifically. We don't know what the gross will be, and we might be able to recover some of those expenses, but this allows us some flexibility. And at the same time, use $3 million to lower the mill rates that we had originally anticipated. So that's the background. That's how we accomplished everything. And we appreciate everyone's support and attention during this process. We know it isn't easy, but your dedication helped us get here. And we think we're on firm footing, not just with a plan, but with the flexibility that if things change, we can accommodate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dakowitz. Any other comments before we go to the public comment section of this meeting? Okay. Larry, would you care to explain once again to folks who might want to comment how they can comment?
Yes, if you'd like to comment, you can raise your hand electronically. If you are an attendee from the public and you'd like to comment, please raise your hand now. If you're dialing in by phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. *9 would raise your hand. But if you could raise your hands now, and then we'll choose each person that raises their hand and allow them to speak. I see one person.
I believe, yeah,
Diane Loricella.
yes, Ms. Loricella. Ms. Loricella, would you care to comment?
Yes, we're all getting used to this system.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me? Okay.
We can hear
First
you.
of all, great. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for your service. I know you're operating in really difficult times, the mayor and the staff, as well as those of you on the BET. Ed, are you going to, unlike other times, are you going to mention each bureau or department, or shall I just speak about multiple suggestions?
Typically, we don't, it's up to you to decide what you want to say. Typically, there's a time limitation on that,
Yeah.
but given that you're the only one at the moment, we'll be a bit more flexible.
Thank you. I'll
So
be
there's no,
succinct.
yeah,
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, first of
Sure.
all, there are many important achievements that have been made. I was always in favor of the reorganization, and I'm still looking forward to seeing the achievements of our new chiefs. Today is my holy day. It's called Earth Day, and I'm very pleased that at least today's weather was accommodating people to get out and see Mother Nature. I would say to this Board of Estimate, please review my comments that should be on the record in minutes on these public hearings since at least 2015, 2014, because there's a common theme that I would like you to try to reconcile in your discussions tonight and in the near future. The first is in relationship to in the mayor's office and chief of staff. I wanted to suggest, because I do appreciate the mayor speaking about looking for efficiencies in our budgeting process, especially now, that there be given serious consideration to remove the part-time grant position and put it into the finance department as a full-time position, because if someone is able to fulfill whatever the title you would want it to be, they should be able to pay for their position. I have spoken to some folks that are responsible in their respective departments for writing grants or preparing them. And quite frankly, the way other cities do it is definitely you need to have specialized language afforded as far as that department's staff. But I don't feel it's efficient to have the staff have to do the tracking, the finding of the grants, the follow-up, the filing of updated reports that many of these grantees require, because it's very onerous. And I'm sure many of these staff would rather do the work that they were hired for. Also, I do think if it was placed in the finance department, then you would have a better accounting of data, and we could really realize some really great grants. I know for a fact that we have missed many dollars of grants, especially most recently, as an example, in the Board of Ed, there was a grant based out of a board that I am on called Recycle CT. I could not get any traction from the Board of Ed or the city for $3,000 a piece. Nobody from Norwalk applied to get recycling grants at $3,000 a shot. And I thought that was sad. It's a missed opportunity. So, and there are many more grants that we have missed on energy and the like. We also have achieved some wonderful grants, but I do think we can optimize that and place that in the finance department. Then there'll be more accountability as well. I think that under DPW, I just wanted to state that I still feel that we can optimize our recycling program. I helped form a group, an ad hoc group called Norwalk Zero Waste Coalition. Zero waste is only an aspiration. We'll never achieve it, but it helps us look at how we can reduce, reuse, recycle, and for at least the next 2 years, get $17.50 a ton We do have a program, but it is what I would like to say kindly an anemic program where the public is used to throwing things in a blue container. They do what is known as aspirational recycling, which means that we sometimes have things that contaminate or cross-contaminate. And we need a better educational program that makes it fun. And I've spoken with Anthony Carr about that. I know he's on the call with a huge red phone behind him. It's really funny. And Jessica. So we're hoping that we can really get this moving. I also have some free programs that will reduce our disposal cost. And it's been very frustrating and disappointing to me and other members of my coalition, because we have to keep asking to be heard. And so going forward, especially during this time of recovery, I really would like to see a little more innovation and active participation on the part of the city in working with these citizens like myself on this topic, because I know we can save money, but also make our city sparkle. And also it's a good thing for all of you. You'll be heroes. And we can reduce our $91 a ton disposal costs, which we can place into other well-deserving programs. Also, as far as recreation and parks, I'm hoping to work with Nick Roberts and Anthony, because we currently still don't have a across-the-board consistent recycling program in our parks. I know it's more difficult in parks, but with the right signage and the right educational and the right efforts creatively, I think we can, especially for July 4th, who knows what's going to happen on July 4th, but I've tried for several years to get us to at least recycle water bottles to no avail. Under building management, and I'm almost done, under building management, Mayor, I really want to speak with you. I've asked for a meeting to see how we can optimize green building design, solar, on roofs, carports, and ground mounted. We have unfortunately lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I have proof of it because I know what other towns are doing. And I have offered to Alan Lowe, to our Land Use and Building Management Council Committee over the years, and others, and yourself, related to what other towns are doing, and offered names of people such as Stamford, Newtown, and Fairfield. These folks have already done the work. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we could save a lot of money, and you'll be heroes in doing so, especially because today is Earth Day. Under the Board of Ed, I sent on, as of last Monday and 2 months prior, an email, so I won't go over again how I feel that the Board of Ed should not get one dime more than the current 6.6 million you're planning to give them, until and unless they show some incentive and an effort to reduce their waste disposal cost, implement a recycling program, and very much make sure that they have solar on carports and the like. They keep telling me and giving me excuses why this is happening eventually, why it hasn't happened. And that is why under DPW, I really think the time has come, for efficiency purposes alone, for the city to take over the disposal of trash and the recycling program of the Board of Ed. They've done so in Stamford. They have an active person that actually goes in and helps with education. I think that that will help our Board of Ed focus on educating our children and supporting our teachers. The time has come, since they do not have an across-the-board recycling program. I know it for a fact. Let's just have our DPW take it over, and also then they can help reinvent this wheel, which is needed to be reinvented. And quite frankly, if we would do some enforcement of the recycling program, we might be able to realize more money that we could then use to pay for a part-time person to help Jessica, because I know that has been an excuse used before Anthony Carr got here. I think we need, so everything I wrote in the email about the Board of Ed, I could double it as far as the city of Norwalk. It needs to pay more attention and think outside the box on energy management. We currently have no active solar panels, solar arrays. We the landfill. I mean, I've offered solutions, and examples include putting a solar array on the landfill. And I know, Mayor, that we had all the intentions, the good intentions to have this discussed. Unfortunately, the efforts fell by the wayside, and I have a request in to speak with you about creating a sustainability committee that includes citizens, not just council members, out of your office. I think it would be much more effective and efficient and fun for those of us in the city that have specialties. There are a lot of us, and we would love to, and I would love to, after this meeting, speak with you about it, especially on Earth Day, because I think there's nowhere to go but up, and a lot of good things can come from it. I think we can have across the board policies. And so tonight on your operating budget, I would ask that this group consider, and I've spoken with Angela and Henry Datchowitz also, and Anthony Carr, that you across the board make a cut on waste disposal of 20 to 30%. And this would be an incentive to the staff to think outside the box and reduce those costs. Over the years, this has been too easy an amount to pay for, and it's a given. And I do believe with proper and increased and robust recycling and reuse programs of electronics and the like, we currently have these programs, but they are anemic. We can realize those savings on the city side and the Board of Ed sides. And sometimes people need an incentive. You have to cut the money on the operating side in order to incent them. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Floricella. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment at this time? Is there anyone else? Once again, Larry, how can people comment if they're calling on their phones?
If you're calling on your phone, hit *9. That will raise your hand electronically. We'll be able to see it and we can call on you. I do not see anyone else.
Okay. I don't either. It is 6:53 at this point. There being no further comments at this time. I'm not sure if we need a motion to adjourn, but if there is such a requirement, I'm all ears at this point. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn has been made. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Abstentions? This hearing is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Clement.